I see you down there. So nice to see you. Okay. Well, my watch shows that it is just 3:30 on the button, so we are going to go ahead and get started. First of all, welcome to everyone that is able to join us here today. As I shared, we have about 70 individuals joining us, both year one candidates and mentors. So welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so glad that you are here and part of the Butte Teacher Induction Program. Before we begin and dive into today's work ahead for orientation, I have two special people here with me, my right and left hand, as I like to say. So Mindy Waters, if you would unmute yourself. Mindy is our senior admin assistant, and chances are you have received oodles of emails for her already, and if you haven't, you will in the near future. So Mindy, anything you'd like to add to that?
No, like she just said, you've probably already started to see my emails coming through. They'll continue to come through with newsletters and things like that throughout the school year. And I can be your contact for any questions you have regarding upcoming meetings or about the program or any type of quick thing that crosses your mind that you need an answer to. Feel free to email me and I'll get back to you right away. But other than that, I'm here to help you guys.
Basically what she's saying is she knows how to hunt me down and find me if you have a question. Just kidding.
All right. Say
it. And my left-hand gal, Carrie. Carrie handles all of our registrations for all of our meetings. So chances are you've seen her name written on OMS registration. So Carrie, do you want to chime in a little bit with your role?
Well, again, you introduced me pretty well. So I do help with the registration. So if there's ever any questions at all, if you need to switch dates, unsure if you were able to register or just unable to register, I can always help you with that process to always make it easier for you guys. I know you're really busy. And if there ever is any questions regarding EdTech, I do help support EdTech as well. So along with our coaches. So if you ever have any questions, you can reach out to me as well. I'm here to help.
Thank you. And Carrie will be signing off because she has a honey-do list that she's working on this afternoon. So Carrie, thanks for stopping by and we will see you later. In front of you right now, you should see our slide deck. Mindy, if you would drop that link in the chat one more time, just so that you have it there. However, we will be emailing it out to you, as I mentioned earlier. We also will be utilizing, and it sounds like someone has your mic on. If you wouldn't mind muting it, just so that we don't get any background feed. Otherwise, it's like I'm echoing and I'm in a tunnel. Mindy will be moderating our chat, so if you have any questions, you can always drop them in there. But really, I don't mind if you guys interrupt me and just unmute yourself and ask your question right there on the fly. That way, if you have a question, you get it answered immediately instead of waiting till the end, and then if you're like me, you can't remember anyway. So please interrupt. It will not bother me a bit. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and press on. As I mentioned, this is year one of the Butte Teacher Induction Program, and we are so happy and thankful that you guys are here. And to our new mentors or our returning mentors, we appreciate you guys coming in and not only supporting the induction program, but your new candidates. We understand that with everything on your plate this year with distance learning, it's a tall order to ask for you not only to support a new teacher, but then also continue to enhance your own learning. So again, thank you for being on this journey with us. So I just want to take a minute. Some of you in the room do know me, others of you do not. So my name is Tracy Allen. I am the Senior Director of Professional Learning here at Butte County Office of Education. And I've been in education about 21 years, 22 years, something like that. The wrinkles show. And I have done a variety of things. I was a classroom teacher, mainly elementary in grades 2 through 6. From there, I went on to be an instructional coach. I was actually a BITSA support provider when Induction used to be called BITSA, an assistant principal, a principal, and now here over at the county office. And it's part of the work that I love because not only do I get to support and work with teachers, which is something that I'm pretty passionate about. But I also oversee the educational technology department, in which helps ed tech be pushed out into all of our districts and schools across the county. So that's just a little bit about me. Now, the picture that you see on the right of your screen is not to bore you with my family history, but I think it's important that you know my purpose. And why do I think that's important? Because as a brand new teacher, chances are in these early days of school or weeks, or for those of you that are getting ready to start school here shortly, it's going to be important that on those tough days, you hang on to that why, your why for getting into education. And my why is sitting right there in front of you. And it has grown over the years, but my why started with the little lady you see in the middle there. And believe it or not, that is my grandma. I know we look nothing alike, but that is her. We have the same height. So if we were standing side by side, you'd say, okay, now I get why she's so short, but that is her. And she is my why because my grandma actually only went to school until the 4th grade. She did not have a proper education. And although I'm not a school psychologist, I would bet money on it that she had a learning disability. However, way back then, that wasn't a thing that was early identified. And so instead, my grandma would hide and not ride the bus to school to get there because she was shamed when she was there because she didn't understand not only the language, but then also had difficulty with reading and writing. And so because of that, at an early age, I remember being about 7 years old, and we would go to the store. And for you youngins, we used to have to write checks. Okay, I'm dating myself, I know, but you'd have to write a check out at the store because there were no ATMs. And so my grandma would go to write her check to Mervyn's because chances are she was buying me some new jelly shoes or something. And she would ask, oh, mija, ¿cómo se dice? And she would ask me, how do you say, or how do you write, depending on what it was she needed. And so I made her a little cheat sheet when I was 7 years old that said 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, all the way to 100, so that she could remember, even when I wasn't there, how to spell those key words in order for her to write a check. And so at that age, I remember thinking as I progressed through school, what a shame it was that my grandma wasn't being given a fair opportunity in her future like I was with the education I was receiving. And so I remember thinking about that as I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my career. And as I've gotten older, my why has grown. As I mentioned, those are my 3 daughters. I have a senior in high school. I have a freshman in high school. Lord help me. And then I have my little one who is in 4th grade. Can't believe it, 9 years old. So although my why has shifted or grown a little bit, my purpose has not. And that is to make sure that the quality of education that I want my students to have and that I wish my grandmother has, that I'm able to support teachers in their educational journey to make sure that they're equipped to do the job that's needed for all of our students. So with that, welcome aboard. All right. So what we're going to do is just take a moment here, and I'm going to have you humor me. And because there are so many of us here, I'm just going to quickly throw us into a few rooms. And what I would like you to do while you're in your room is the following. I just want you to introduce yourself. It doesn't have to be a long story like I did, okay? So you don't have to go on a soapbox like I did, but just introduce yourself, the number of years you've been teaching, and what is your current teaching position. Now, we do have a couple of retirees that are also serving as mentors or people that are in other roles. Just share what grades you have taught previously if that fits your description. So again, introduce yourself. What is your name, the number of years you've been teaching, and then your current teaching position or most current teaching position. I'll give you about 5 minutes while you are in your rooms. So go ahead, and when you see it pop up, please go ahead and jump on in. About 10 seconds now, so please feel free just to hang out, and they'll all be joining back here shortly. And for those of you that are have just joined us, if you wouldn't mind muting yourself too, there's no background feed, that would be great. All right, it looks like we're all popping on, or it's kicked you off even if you weren't done talking. Sorry about that. But even though we can't be together, unfortunately, I do feel that it is important that you guys begin to figure out who's who in the zoo, as I like to say, right? Who are your counterparts within this program? And there's going to be a variety of different opportunities for you guys to network. chances are maybe you are at a school where you have other teachers that are at a similar grade level as you or teach the same content area as you, but some of you may not, and maybe you are the only teacher teaching that specific grade or content area. And so it's so nice that with the induction program, not only are you going to be able to connect with other educators across the county and surrounding areas, but also across the country. And we're going to show you different ways to grow your PLN and do those types of things. So thank you for humoring me and having me put you on the spot while you share a little bit about yourself. And I promise there's no more like that for the rest of today. Maybe next time, but not today. So you're off the hook. All right. So for today, what we're going to be focusing on are the following items. We've already done number one, woohoo. And we're going to watch a quick video here in just a moment. We're going to talk about the specific highlights and responsibilities when it comes to induction, and that is for both the candidate and mentor. We're going to really focus in and hone in on that individualized learning plan, which is called the ILP, which is where all of our year one candidates will be conducting all of their work. And then finally, we're going to take a look at Google Classroom, since that will be the platform, the management system that all of the candidates will be using to not only find resources needed to complete their ILP, but also where they'll be turning in assignments to me as well. So with that, let's go ahead and move ahead. I feel that this video is important to take some time for you to see. It's a short one. And the reason for it is with everything going on in our world today and all of the demands that are being put on teachers and administrators specifically, sometimes we just need a little reminder. So again, this is called The Calling.
It's been said that in a completely rational society, the best of us would be teachers, and the rest of us would have to settle for something less, because passing civilization along from one generation to the next ought to be the highest honor and the highest responsibility any one of us can have. I speak in school communities all over the country, and many times people will ask, who's the most important group you speak to? Is it high school students, elementary students, middle school students? All of those students are important, but you can make a very strong argument that the most important group that I speak to isn't students at all. It's teachers. I've met in my time thousands of teachers, classroom teachers, counselors, office administrators, FIED teachers, librarians, anybody who works in a school that has an ability to impact kids, in my mind, is a teacher. And what I've learned is that you didn't get there by accident. Felt the special tug on your heart, and that tug said to you at some point, you are uniquely designed to impact, influence, and inspire a young person's heart, soul, and mind, and you said yes to that calling. So often teachers get bogged down in the day-to-day, and what they got into the work for ends up not being the work that they actually do, and they get burnt and they get drained and they're ready to quit. I've seen teachers as early as 6 months ready to throw in the white flag and say it's all over. They don't feel like their work matters, but it does, and I can say it firsthand. Our family actually got an email from a school nurse, a teacher in her own right, about 3 years ago, and the email read something along the lines of, I don't know how to quite say this, but your daughter, who was in 3rd grade at the time, is coming in and seeing me quite a bit, and there's some very strong red flags that I have as a nurse that she's struggling with some sort of anxiety or maybe even childhood depression. The nurse was absolutely right, and for the last 3 years, my wife and I and my daughter have been in and out of counseling, therapy, and psychiatrist questioning, medicine, 4th grade. Sophia missed 25 days of school because of this stuff. There were days where she couldn't even get out of bed. And I actually don't share that to make you sad or to make you depressed, because the truth is so many of you have had harder stories or more difficult things in your life than that. I share that with you because you need to understand that only 1 year later in 5th grade, Sophia missed 0 days of school, and it wasn't because of the doctor, and it wasn't because of myself or medication, because of her 5th grade teacher, Miss Patty. Miss Patty single-handedly changed the game for Sophia and our entire family. And what I need you to hear is that you are the Miss Patties for so many of the students that walk into your classroom. And sometimes you know the ones you're impacting, and sometimes you don't. But as a parent, somebody who just deeply cares about young people, I need you to remind yourself that the work you do matters. The ripple effect that you have in the lives of these kiddos goes further than your eyes will ever see. So, if nothing else, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for stepping up and saying yes to that tug that you got on your heart so many years ago. Thank you for saying yes to the highest honor and the highest responsibility any one of us could have. Thank you for passing civilization forward. You have the most important job on this planet, and we need you today more than ever.
Now, I share that video with you for a couple of reasons. One, to say thank you. Thank you for choosing this profession. And not only am I telling you thank you as a director of the program or as an educator myself, but as a parent. So I, like the man we just saw in the video, my oldest daughter has also suffered from those things that he mentioned, like his daughter, Sophia. And although she wasn't in 4th grade when those things came out, she was in 6th grade. And the last 6 years have been quite a journey. And it was the teachers such as Miss Contreras and Mrs. Silva and Mrs. Brown that made the difference to her and made her feel safe while she was at school. And so I want to thank you all, because you are the Miss Patties of our educational system. And it is with you that our students will continue to succeed and soar, because oftentimes we are the key or that missing link that they need to feel welcome and like they have a place and that they belong. So thank you for that. I did it without getting teary-eyed. I'd like a gold star, please. Okay, so what is induction? Well, I'm sure you're all just so excited to be here as a year 1 candidate, because you finished the credential program and you thought, woohoo, I just earned my credential. I am done with school. Let's wipe my hands clean. And then you get the word, I have to do what? Induction, say who? Huh? I already have my credential. Well, yes, it's true. You did receive your preliminary credential. But in order to have a clear credential in California, you do have to be a part of a 2-year induction program. And it used to be called BITSA, and maybe some of our mentors remember BITSA. And I'm sure they're already, like, they can hear their stomach rumbling as they hear the word BITSA. Because chances are maybe they didn't have such a grand experience with BITSA. And the reason for that is that BITSA was designed with a variety of, let's just say, hoops that candidates had to jump through in order to receive their clear credential. And when I call it a hoop, I mean that because their work was pretty much dictated by the program, meaning you could have been a rock star teacher at classroom management fresh out of the gate. But because BITSA said you needed 3 hours of a classroom management professional learning series, you would have to attend that whether or not you needed that specific skill set. Well, induction is different in that you are in charge of your own professional learning. You get to determine what areas you want to grow in as an educator and what paths you want to do to get there. In addition to that, you come up with goals to reach that are based upon the work that you are already doing within your classroom. So this isn't something new and different that I want you to create and do because Tracy's bored and likes to correct papers, but instead it's really what are some goals that you have for yourself based on what you already know and how you are obtaining understanding of the California Standards for Teaching Profession, and how can your mentor and the induction team help you reach them. So this is a 2-year journey that will help you receive that clear teaching credential. And Mindy, I hope you are taking a peek at the chat and just will interrupt me when needed, because I know there's a lot of items popping up in there, and well, I only have one monitor hooked up where I'm zooming right now. So thanks, my dear. So what are some of those program highlights? Well, as I mentioned before, the professional learning is based upon your needs, what it is you feel you need to continue to grow as an educator. In addition to that, there's also one-on-one assistance that's going to be provided to you by these rockstar mentors that are either in the Zoom room with you right now or will be in the future. And these mentors have a plethora of experience and have been selected by their administration based upon their qualifications. So it can't just be, you know, Joe Schmoes thinking, I want to be a mentor, let's do this. I mean, they really have a full plethora of standards that they have to meet in order to be qualified, to show that they have the understanding and the capability needed in order to support you as a candidate. In addition to that, all of the mentoring support that they will be providing to you and the different documents that you'll be using for your individual learning plan are all based on current theory and research. So it's not just, you know, Tracy got a wild bug and wanted to come up with something. It literally is based on the standards that are aligned for us for accreditation purposes. So let's look at the responsibilities that you're going to have as a candidate in the program. So chances are you've already completed your application. That's how you knew to be here today. But after today, you're also going to sign all digitally an induction agreement and orientation assurance. That's going to be for both mentors and candidates, by the way. So mentors, you'll see yours in a minute. But basically it's saying, yes, I agree to do these following things. And I did attend orientation and now I am aware of all of these responsibilities. You are required to meet with your mentor. So the candidate and mentor must meet weekly for a minimum of 1 hour. And in just a moment, I'm going to show you how that can be broken down since we're kind of in this distance learning world that we're in. In addition to that, you're going to be responsible for coming up with that individualized learning plan that I had mentioned earlier. We're going to break that down a little bit more here in just a few moments, but it's going to be based on an assessment that you do with your mentor. In addition, it's going to be job embedded. I can't stress that enough. You don't want to create more work for yourself, so you really want to think about what are the initiatives and goals that my school site and or district already have in place and align my goals to that. That way you can kind of kill two birds with one stone and not trying to create something else that doesn't pertain to your already day in and day out work. Now, all of the program requirements are outlined by CTC, the Commission on Teaching Credentialing. However, some of you that are a year one might be on a program sponsor variable term waiver. Now, mentors, this is a new term. I see some of you looking at me like, it's a what? What is this? I mentored last year. You never talked about this, Tracy. Well, a program sponsor variable term waiver, if you are a candidate, you will know whether or not you're on this. And you don't need to announce it out now. You'll be meeting with me privately and we'll talk about that. But basically, this is a executive order that was put into place by CTC and the governor due to COVID-19. And so some of our year one candidates were unable to complete all of the requirements needed to gain or receive their preliminary teaching credential. And instead, they've been put on this waiver that says, due to COVID-19, I'm able to basically teach as a first year teacher. However, I have to complete these items in order to receive my clear credential. And I'll be working with those individuals that are on the PSVTW so that they know exactly what components they need to do. And with education, you will learn quickly that it is full of acronyms, so get used to them now because there's one for everything. And finally, one of the most important things here is that you maintain that confidentiality that you have with your students. Just like we're going to ask that your mentors are doing that with you, it's going to be crucial that you do that for your students. Meaning, any documents that you're turning in, you do not have the student's first and last name on there. You could do initials, you could do student A, B, and C, but we don't want documents going around to a variety of different people that contains a student's first and last name for confidentiality purposes. Same things if you were ever video taping your students, or if you were taking pictures of them, you want to make sure that you have all of the appropriate approvals in place before doing so. All right. Now I know that was a lot right there. However, we will be breaking down some of those in just a moment for our candidates. Now I mentioned that we would be looking at, well, how can I meet with my mentor, Tracy, or mentors are thinking, how can I meet with my candidate in this distance learning time? Well, we can be a little bit flexible and think outside the box when it comes to meeting for that 1 hour increment of time weekly. And one way that you could do that is chunking that time. So you don't have to feel that every Tuesday at 3:30 you have to meet together for that full hour. Instead, maybe you want to break it up, and maybe Tuesdays and Thursdays work out great for you guys. And so you do 20 minutes on Tuesday, 20 minutes on Thursday, and the remaining 20 minutes you're going to use maybe for a phone call. Maybe you guys are going to be voxing back and forth. Maybe there's some email exchanges. So we can be a little creative with how that hour block of time looks, just because we obviously are during this distance learning time. Now, for those of you that are at the same school site, this might not be an issue, and you can just set that day and that's the time that you meet. But for those of you that are at different school sites, we might need to be a little bit more creative with it, and that's completely up to you. I would recommend, however, that you set a schedule and then try to stick to it as best as you can. Otherwise, we kind of get roped into other things. I don't know if you've picked up on that, but teachers, especially our mentors that are here, they love to, I say love, but they're always being asked, oh, could you be a part of this committee? Oh, can you help with this? And of course, they're always like, yes, let's do it. Yes, let's do it. And then their time starts to dwindle down. Same things with our candidates. Sometimes our year one teachers are asked, oh, could you serve on this committee? Oh, hey, can you do this? And before you guys know it, both of your schedules have honestly zero time to meet. So I would recommend that you carve that time out now while you can and try to stick to it as best as possible. So when you meet, what are you going to do? Well, you're not just going to sit there and twiddle thumbs and hope it all works out well. Instead, it's really a time for you guys, one, to get to know each other, please. So if you don't know each other already, you know, take some time, just like you would work on building those connections with your own students first. You need to do that here as well. It's going to be really difficult to support someone when they don't know you or feel comfortable in doing so. So take that time to build that relationship and that rapport. But it's also an opportunity to talk about the successes that the candidate is experiencing, the challenges that are there, and basically that day in and day out kind of just-in-time support. Those questions that they just, oh my gosh, I don't know how to engage my students in this distance learning atmosphere. I've tried different things and it's still not working. What are you doing, right? Or it could be, holy smokes, I just rocked breakout rooms. I'd like you to know, and let me tell you all about it. So it's a time for you to kind of just debrief with someone and kind of get it off your chest. In addition to that, it's also a time to really do some of that induction work, where we're planning our goals, where we're thinking about the professional learning needs that we have, and how we're going to continue to grow as an educator. So those weekly meetings are designed for those various items that will need to be done in induction, or maybe needed to fit your needs. Are there any questions on that weekly collaboration time, or what will be done during that? And mentors, you will have more on that with me later when we do our mentor training, but candidates specifically, do you have anything else that you're curious about?
I had a question real quick. I've chosen a mentor who's also a collaborator with me in one of my math classes, and we're already meeting, you know, regularly during the week to collaborate via Zoom. I'm just wondering if I can kind of double dip that time, or if I need to set up a separate time to
double dip.
Okay.
Dip away. Yeah, definitely double dip that time. As long as you can carve out a little portion of that time to also focus on those induction needs too as they come up. But yeah, please don't create more work. Great question. All right, moving right along. So for our mentors, again, application was completed. That's how you know to be here. You will also have an agreement and orientation assurance form. Again, you're meeting for that 1 hour with your candidate. There will be some professional development sessions on those mentor trainings that are required. There are 3 if you are a new mentor, and there are 2 if you are a returning mentor. And then the most important one that I want to make sure that the candidate hears loud and proud is that they're really going to maintain your confidentiality, okay? Meaning this is not an evaluative process. So never as your candidate is sharing something with you or as you are observing them, even virtually, that they should feel that they are being evaluated as they would be by an administrator. This is meant to be a support program, a place for them to feel safe to ask questions and to take risks, and not to feel that it is punitive in nature. All right. So this is Mindy's favorite part, and even though we can't be in person, if you don't know me, I love prizes. I love to honor your guys' time and celebrate you. So with that, Mindy, if you could give me 2 raffle prize winners, please. And we can't do tickets because we're virtually, so Mindy's choosing them off the registration list. Go ahead, Mindy, who are they?
Yep. Let me scroll along here. Shauna Hutzel.
Oh, returning mentor Shauna. Woohoo, give her a shout out. See, if we were in person, it would be really loud, so I have to pretend. Go ahead, Mindy.
Okay, and then the next winner is Jessica North.
Jessica, congratulations, you two. Woohoo! Mindy will be snail mailing you guys some prizes. So just so you know, I also love to shop. So you're gonna learn so much about me. And one of the things I love to shop for, I love gift cards for you guys. I love to go to teacher stores and we buy prizes and usually we get to give them to you guys in person, which is my real favorite way to do it. But Mindy will be mailing them out to you and we will do prizes throughout today. And the reason why we do them throughout the training is so you stay for the whole thing. See how we do that? I'm just kidding. No, it's serious, but that's all right. All right, Mindy, thanks so much. See you shortly. So how do we find our assignments? How do I know what is expected? Well, you are going to receive this basically a link to assignments. And all of the assignments that are needed for induction are going to be housed here. You'll notice that when you access this slide deck, if you were to click on this live link right here, it'll take you to the year 1 assignment list. Everything that is in a black font is going to be an item that is for the candidate to complete. And everything that you see in blue font is a mentor assignment that will need to be completed. And you'll see the due date off to the far right. Now, candidates, all of your items, so for our new year 1 teachers, all of your assignments are all loaded into Google Classroom. But sometimes maybe you're thinking, oh gosh, I don't have time to access that right now. Just what's due, Tracy? Just give it to me. You could quickly go here, click on that link and have it right at your fingertips. Now, mentors, you will not be accessing Google Classroom because based upon feedback we've heard over the last couple of years, mentors just want things down and dirty. Give it to me on my fingertips so I don't have to go hunting for it. So mentors, here it is. As always, you will click on that link. It will take you directly to the Google form that needs to be completed, and then you wipe your hands clean and you call it good, okay? So again, this is the assignment list. It is located in the Google Classroom. Mentors, it's also located in the Mentor Resource Bank, which you'll be having access to, and this will be emailed out to you as well. Now you'll notice that it says color-coded to match the ILP. Well, what in the world does that mean? It means this. When candidates receive their ILP, which is located in Google Classroom, every section of the ILP that is due is highlighted with a different color. So if you see on this one where it says Fall Collaborative Assessment, it is highlighted green. If I were to look over at the assignment list, I can see here that it's also highlighted green. That tells me that everything that's under that green band is going to be due where it says on October 23rd. So I am a visual person, and so a lot of the things that you will receive from me will be color-coded. When Mindy first started working for me, she would laugh at all of the color coding I did, and she would even bring me, like, as a joke, more colors. And she's like, oh, do you need some more highlighters, Tracy? I'm like, actually, I do. And now guess who's highlighting everything? Mindy. So don't let her fool you. It really helps. So please utilize that color coding system because it'll help you as you're trying to navigate that work. Let's see, moving right along here. So that ILP component, You keep hearing me talk about it. What is it? How does this all work? Well, chances are in your preliminary program, when you were in the credentialing program, you had a document where you housed all of your learning and what you were going to basically, you had an inquiry about, and you were going to analyze some data and then document that learning. Well, the ILP works in a very similar manner. However, it is based upon growth goals that you set as a professional educator. And we're going to show you how to set those goals in just a minute. The way you determine what those goals will be is that you are going to collaboratively work with not only the mentoring candidate together, but also your site administrator. And those three individuals working together are going to come up with, what is the game plan? What are the goals that I have as I work through this first semester? Now, the induction program is kind of broken into semesters. So you have semester 1 and 2. And so right now we'll just be focusing on what are the goals for semester 1. In addition to that, you'll see here that some of you may have that program sponsor variable term waiver that I talked about earlier. If you do, Mindy's going to be setting up a meeting with you and I and your mentor so that we can figure out what exactly are you missing so that you can earn a clear credential at the end of this time. Now, if you don't have that program sponsor variable term waiver, could they come up with a longer name? If you do not have that, chances are you have a transition plan that you completed in your program that you could choose to continue with that learning. Or you may say, you know what, Tracy, that was great, but I was, still in the credentialing program. I have a job now, and at my new school site or my new district, these are the initiatives, and so I want to focus on that. It is completely up to you. I would probably recommend that you do the latter as well, right? If you're already having to do that work and it's already being required by your administration, it would be great if it was already aligned to the work that's being asked of you with induction. One thing that I want to make sure that you guys know is that it is a living document, meaning at any time we can tweak it and change it as the needs of your classroom or learning, your own learning needs shift. So please keep that in mind as you are going through this process. All right, and more importantly, it's going to help determine the professional learning that you need to be a part of in order to continue to grow as an educator. The nice thing about that professional learning, as I mentioned earlier, it's now not just required. So it's not just, well, Tracy said I had to do this, or the induction program said I had to do this. Instead, it's, wow, I really want to learn more about how I'm going to meet the social emotional learning needs of my students now that we're in this distance learning arena. That is what my goal is. Okay, well, if that's your goal, then you can go ahead and attend professional learning opportunities that are aligned to that goal. And those professional learning opportunities can be ones provided by your school site, your district, or even any ones that we are offering here at BCOE, or ones that you attend online, or, well, probably not in person anytime soon, but eventually, hopefully in person too. So that is the ILP kind of in a nutshell. And as we go through this year, the ILP will be broken down section by section so that it's easier for us to, easier pill for us to swallow and easier chunks for us to manage instead of, hey, here's the whole document, good luck, I'll see you in May. No, instead we'll be broken down into sections and I'll help you guys along the way. So let's take a look at where we should begin. And that first section is going to be due on October 2nd. Step 1 is that initial meeting. And that initial meeting is between the first year teacher, the mentor, and the school site administrator. So those three individuals, you're going to try to get on that calendar, set up your Zoom meeting, or if you guys are in school, socially distance and make that meeting happen. And it's an opportunity for our site administrators to have some one-on-one time, for lack of a better word, with our candidate and share what are the resources available in our district or in our school site that maybe that new teacher isn't aware of yet. So let's say that the new teacher really had some students that are on an IEP and has some real intensive needs. that need to be addressed. And so maybe the site administrator would say, oh my gosh, you need to make sure that you reach out to these 3 following staff members so that they can help you specifically with that student. So this is a place for us to really hone in on what are the needs of the students in your classroom, and what are the other pieces that are available to me as a teacher at this school site or at the district. In addition to that, the site administrator is going to share, hey, you know what? Here are the goals that I have for our staff this year. So if you know that there is a certain initiative that your school site is pushing or that your district is pushing because that is their focus for the year, if I were you, it would make sense to make sure my goal aligns with that, because I'm already going to be attending that professional learning, right? Because it's required. Chances are our grade level meetings or PLCs are already going to be designed around that because that's the initiative. So it would make sense to find a growth goal that aligns to that. Now, do you have to? No, you could choose whatever you wanted, but that might make your workload less if it's already aligned to the work that's being done at your school site or school district. Mindy, I know in the chat right now there are some things coming up for me personally, I see, and then there's also some things that are going out to everybody. Is there anything that's going out to everyone that I should address right now? I see one right now. Is it our school address that we put on the application? Yes, please. The question was about signatures. Do we hot potato it around a few days? I love that. That was great. Yeah, so as far as the signatures go, there is in Google Classroom, there is a quick screencast on how to do a digital signature. And so you could have your administrator do the digital signature right there. If you're meeting in person, you could have your laptop there and they can just get on and do it that way. Or you can play hot potato with it. I like that analogy, by the way. Thanks for sharing. And this ILP is located in Google Classroom, is where you will access it, and a copy will automatically be made for you. And James, I haven't read what you sent to me privately, but I know it's some ideas about improving some things about ILP, and James has a plethora of information on all things technology, which I love. So I will be reading those and probably following up with you, James. So thanks so much for that. Anything else in there, Mindy, that I missed that you should chime in real quick with?
No, those were the only 2 things. So
thanks so much, Vanna. Appreciate it. All right, moving right along. So that is step 1 that will need to be completed on your ILP early on. The next component is step 2. And step 2 is to take these standards. Now, I'm sure that you have seen them already. They are called the California Standards for the Teaching Profession. And for our new mentors, if you were a part of BITSA, they haven't changed. They're the same CSTPs that you guys had when you were going through the program. But basically, there are 6 of them, and they're broken into different categories based upon student or professional learning needs. What you're going to do is kind of look at these overarching standards and get a feel for, you know what, based upon what my principal said we're focusing on this year, and based upon what I feel I need to continue to grow in as an educator, I'm going to go with standard 2. Because although I feel that I could rock it in the classroom if my kiddos were there with me, I'm really concerned about this virtual learning environment and how to best connect with my students. So I'm going to focus on standard 2. Okay, so now I have it pinned down to standard 2, but as you can see, standard 2 has 7 standards there. Please don't choose all 7. I mean, if you want to and you're an overachiever, feel free. I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend choosing 1 substandard of those 7. So let's say I want to go with 2.3 because I'm really concerned that in this virtual environment, my students aren't feeling physically or intellectually and emotionally safe. So I'm going to focus in on 2.3. If that's the case, then I'm going to go over to the continuum of teaching practice, and there's a link here in the slide deck, and you'll get access to that. It's also located in Google Classroom, and it's also located at the bottom of the assignment list. So it's located many, many places, or you can just Google it too. But that link is readily available to you. When you click on here, it's going to give you more information than you've ever wanted to know about that standard. So I wouldn't recommend reading it all cover to cover unless you can't sleep at night, then feel free. Other than that, I would just go to section 2.3 2.3, if that is your substandard that you're focusing on, and use that as a guide to answer these questions, which you're going to see here. When it comes to standard 2.3, are you emerging, are you exploring, or are you innovating that specific standard? Now notice that there are 3 standards listed here. You only have to choose 2 to focus on for your ILP. One will be the focus of semester 1, and the second one will be the focus of second semester. You have the option of doing 3 if you like, but you do not have to. 2 goals will be turned in, but only 1 will be focused on during the first semester. You want to make sure that you're choosing an item that you are in the emerging or exploring range. If you're rocking it and you're innovating it, please don't turn it in. I mean, how are you going to show growth? Hey, I'm innovating, Tracy, check me out. Hey, still innovating. Yeah, don't. So instead, hey, I'm exploring here, but now over the course of the semester, I'm now integrating or I'm now innovating. So you want to be able to show that growth, as that's a key element of being part of induction, is that you're showing growth throughout your own professional learning journey. And then you're just going to list those standards that you select right here. Again, 2 standards selected. So Mindy, choose those 2 names, but I'm gonna have you hang on to them because of time. I'm gonna have to rock and roll. So choose 2 and hang on to them, Tiger. All right. So in Google Classroom, again, this is only going to be for our candidates. So mentors, you will not have your own Google Classroom. You'll be using a mentor resource bank to turn everything in. But for candidates, you are going to use this class code in order to access your Google Classroom. Now, I'm sure many of you are very familiar with Google Classroom after the world we're in right now. However, if you're not, trust me, our EdTech coaches and my team are more than happy to support you with this. But if you are familiar with it, fantastic. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to make sure that you sign out of all of your other existing Google accounts. Because as you see with one of my EdTech coaches here, Lori, she is signed in with her BCOE account, meaning she cannot access our Google Classroom account for induction until she signs out of everything. So oftentimes our year 1 candidates will get a hold of me and they're like, Tracy, my Google Classroom isn't working. And I'll say, hey, are you still signed into your OCSD account? Or, oh, are you still signed into your CUSD account? And they're like, yes. And I'm like, okay, we got to sign out of everything. All of our year 1 candidates, either tonight or tomorrow morning, depending on how adventurous I get today, you are going to receive an email that has your login information as well as the default password, which is induction, and then you'll be prompted to change it at that point in time. The most important thing that you need to remember when you receive that new email, which will end in BCOE online, is that you can choose student. I can't tell you how many I have say, oh, I'm a teacher, and they click teacher. Well, you are a teacher. However, in this Google Classroom of Induction, you will be a student of the induction program. So please make sure you select student there. And then you're going to join the class by hitting that plus sign and punching in this code, okay? So just like you had to walk your students through this process, I'm sure many of you, you'll be walking yourselves through that process. But again, we're here to support you if you need help on how to access Google Classroom. Now I'm just going to move ahead on the next slides here because most of what you're going to see ahead are just kind of some tutorials or helpful hints. So they will be in the slide deck. You will be able to refer back to them, but they're just helpful hints on how to navigate Google Classroom and how it's set up for us in induction. The most important thing I want you to remember as you look at this Bitmoji of me sweating is please do not delete this folder. So in your drive, you're going to have a folder that says Classroom. And if you are spring cleaning and start cleaning out your Google Drive, you may think, well, what in the world is this? I don't have anything in here, and delete it. Please don't, because then you will delete everything in your Google Classroom. I speak from experience. Again, do not delete that folder. So if you want to highlight it red or do something so you remember that, just let that folder live in your drive. And the next slides here are all different screencasts that I've had one of our coaches put together for me that all have to do with how to reset your password, how do you mark things as done, etc. Our ed tech coaches, as I mentioned, is also the other ed tech department that I get to oversee. And all of the professional learning that they offer for your whole time induction are free to you as a teacher within the induction program. And that's for candidates and mentors. So you'll always have access to their upcoming trainings. And this is just how to get that information. And so the most important thing I want you to know as you leave here is that there are multiple layers of support built into our Butte teacher induction program in order to assure your success in the program. I'm not here to find any gotchas or hey, you know, you didn't do that. Trust me, you will hear from me. If there's something missing, if I'm concerned about something, I will reach out to you, and I hope that you do the same. I really, truly view this as a partnership, and I understand that you all have lives outside of school and induction. So even though we have deadlines there and due dates, please communicate with me. So if something comes up and life gets in the way and that deadline isn't going to work for you, it's okay. Just reach out and let me know so I'm not wondering what's going on. And I'm more than happy to work with you and be flexible on that. You will be receiving our induction newsletter. It typically comes out the first Friday of every month. So it will be hot off the press this Friday. And in that newsletter will contain a plethora of information in regards to all things induction. And more importantly, with that layer of support, I want you to know how to contact us. So before we go to the next slide, the best way to get a hold of me truly is my cell phone. You can text me, you can call me, whatever you prefer, but I'm going to give you my cell phone number now. I don't scan in hard copy. So those check for snail mail will be coming to your home address. In addition to that, I need you to complete the candidate or mentor agreement, and the due dates are written down below there. It's located on the assignment list or in Google Classroom for candidates. And again, the handbook is going to contain a variety of information ranging from confidentiality guidelines, which I went over with you earlier, the candidate mentor request for change process, meaning mentors, if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, this relationship, Tracy, isn't working, or candidates, if you feel, holy smokes, Tracy, how did this assignment happen? Then please reach out to me. There's a process we can go through if that is not a mutual benefiting relationship. And as always, if you have any problems or concerns with me, you'll never have them with Mindy, but if it's with me or the program or anything like that, please don't hesitate to reach out. The only way I can continue to grow and our program can continue to grow is if we're meeting your needs. And the only way we know if we're doing that is if you tell us. So shoot me a line. My feelings won't be hurt. James knows, he's already telling me, like, Tracy, let me tell you how to improve this ILP, which I love. So bring it on. I love to hear it. And as long as it's within our CTC standards and guidelines, I'm more than willing to do it. Trust me. So with that being said, here is our contact information. Although Carrie and Mindy didn't want me to give you out their cell phone numbers, not sure why, just kidding. But these are the best ways to get a hold of us. For me, though, my cell phone is the best. I am on Voxer, so if you're on Voxer, you can shoot me a Vox. Other than that, text or call would be the best. I also don't want you to miss the opportunity to send us a picture. Why? Well, I know this sounds creepy and weird, but I did it as a classroom teacher. I did it as an administrator, but I would take the yearbook, right? And I would study the yearbook over the summer. So when the kids came back to school, I memorized all their names. And so parents and students were always like, how do you remember everyone's name? It's like, because I'm a little obsessive and I studied the yearbook. And I want to be able to do the same with you guys. And the only way that I'm going to be able to do that, since we're in this distance platform, is if you send me a picture of you so that I can like spy on you and like get the name face going. So if you're able to get together with your mentor because you guys are at the same school site and practice social distancing, then send me that picture. If you guys have to send me separate pictures together in one email, that's fine too. But Mindy will be putting you guys in a raffle for, of course, another prize, because you know how I am with prizes already. Just so that I can study you. And when I see you, I don't look at you and go, who are you again? But I can actually say, oh, hey, Robin, how can I help you today? Or, hey, Steve, what did you need? Or Karen, what was that again? Instead of me just like, who are you? Because that's just real impersonal and not me at all. So with that being said, Mindy, you know what time it is, girlfriend? I need 2 more. So I need 4 total. Give me some raffle prizes. Not prizes.
You got it. I went ahead and picked out 4 people while you were giving your last part of your presentation.
I know, I'm so long-winded. I apologize.
That is okay. So the first winner was Galen Anderson.
Galen! All right.
And yay. And then the next name chosen was Isel Cruz or Isel Cruz.
Oh, I saw her. She's here. Woohoo!
Down the list here. The next winner is Kyle Norton.
Kyle in the house. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. One more. Let's have it.
All right, and then the last one was Brittany Smith.
Brittany. Awesome. I miss being in person where you guys are like louding and you have to come on down like the price is right and stuff. It's so much better, but whatever. I'll pretend. So anyway, Mindy will be mailing all of those snail mail prizes out to you. We're hoping Friday, we're meeting in the office and we'll be able to kind of get all that situated. So you should expect those within the next couple of weeks. And with that said, I'm not going to take up any more time because I am 2 minutes over and I try to be punctual, although I'm very long-winded. I do want you to watch this video, not with me, however, because I want to honor your time. However, it is one that you don't want to miss. I would recommend, however, that you don't watch it with colleagues around or in a large open space where maybe others might see you getting a little teary-eyed, I'm just going to say. It's called Good Job, and if you haven't seen it yet, it's one that definitely needs to hit home and be one that you watch when you're having kind of one of those rough days. And with that said, I just want to thank you guys in advance for doing such a good job in the work that you've already done thus far and the work that you'll continue to do as we continue to serve our students in Butte County and the surrounding areas. So thank you so much for being part of our induction team. I wish that we were in person, but we will try to make the best of this virtual setting that we can. And with that, I'll be hanging out if you guys have any questions for me. Other than that, we'll be in contact. You'll be receiving emails with your access to Google Classroom. And mentors, I look forward to seeing you at our mentor training together. Even though we won't be in person with food, it'll still work. So take care, guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.